Listen up. From now on, you're going to be the one taking care of my mom.
My husband says this, clearly trying to push the caregiving responsibilities of his annoying mother onto me.
What kind of joke is that?
Seeing the audacity of my husband, I respond with a tone as cold as ice.
I'm serious, okay? Starting tomorrow.
He says that and leaves the room. I chuckle sarcastically.
What would happen if I just disappeared tomorrow? I wonder.
My name is Tracy. I'm 28 years old. I moved to the city when I got a job at a design firm. Through a friend, I met Ewart, my current husband. When I first met Ewart, he was in the middle of establishing a manufacturing business.
I want to fulfill the dream I had with my late father when I was in elementary school.
Drawn by his drive, I went after him aggressively, and we started dating. We didn't get to see each other much because of his busy work schedule. But when we did, he always made it worth my while. We built a decent relationship, so when he proposed, I was ecstatic.
I know my business isn't stable yet. It'll be a hassle, but I still want to be with you. Will you marry me?
Yes, if you'll have me.
Relieved by my answer, Ewart continues our conversation.
So Tracy, what do you think about living with my folks until we get stable? Renting a new place could get expensive.
I've only met your mom once, Ewart. Do you think we'll get along?
Holding my anxious hand, he reassures me.
Tracy, you're kind and outgoing. I think you and Mom will get along fine. Remember, she said you seem like a great person.
Mother-in-law Miley seemed outgoing and caring during our first meeting. A year ago, I had just started dating Ewart and went to visit his family.
You must be Tracy. Come on in. Do you like sweets? I brought you some from my last overseas trip.
Thank you. As I feel a bit overwhelmed by Miley's forcefulness, Ewart steps in.
Mom, you're making Tracy uncomfortable. Did you go traveling again?
Don't worry about it. You have to live while you're young, and if Ewart causes any trouble, just let me know.
Miley's smile was as bright as the sun.
Maybe I can live with this woman. So I made the decision to move in with Miley, a choice I would soon regret.
Months into living with Miley, as I was preparing dinner and waiting for Ewart to come home, Miley starts to nag.
Hey Tracy, don't you think the soup is a little bland? Ewart prefers stronger flavors, you know.
She was tasting the soup I had made.
No, this should be fine. Ewart used to like stronger flavors, but his recent health checkup wasn't great. So I tried making this and he said he loved it.
I looked at Miley, recalling Ewart's satisfied expression.
Is that so?
Suddenly, Miley's bright smile fades into something cold. Just as I begin to sense that something's off, I hear footsteps coming from the entrance.
And boom! Ooh, burgers today? Lucky me.
Welcome home, Ewart. Go wash your hands first.
Miley greets Ewart, who rushes into the kitchen with her usual radiant smile.
Alright, let's start plating.
The icy smirk Miley had earlier had now melted into her usual cheerful expression.
Was it just my imagination?
All the dishes are on the table, and it's time for Ewart, Miley, and me to have dinner. Normally, we'd talk about trivial things like what we bought today or plans for tomorrow's dinner, but today was different.
Hey, did you change the soup again?
Ewart holds up a spoonful of my soup.
Really? It should be the same mild flavor as always.
I taste the soup and am shocked. It's much saltier than before.
Why is it so salty?
Before I can make a face, Miley interjects.
Tracy, you might think it's mild, but our hardworking son can't be satisfied with that.
Don't you? Right, Ewart? You prefer it this way, don't you?
Yeah, definitely prefer this.
With Ewart's casual agreement, Miley glances at me triumphantly. I was too shocked to say anything then, but little did I know it was just the beginning of hell.
Hey Tracy, this stew is too bland. Stop serving me your failed attempts. When will you ever get cooking right?
Miley discards the stew I was working on with a sigh.
Miley, I hadn't even seasoned it yet. Why did you throw it away?
Stop making that scary face. It's good practice. Your chopping skills were off anyway, so just start over.
Miley exits the kitchen. Months had passed since the soup incident. Miley had started to make life difficult for me. She started to season the food heavily for Ewart, and didn't like it when he enjoyed my milder versions. And lately, she's even started telling Ewart that I've been harassing her. Ewart, once optimistic about us getting along, has started to complain about the persistent tension between Miley and me. Then one day, the unthinkable happens. Miley and I are preparing dinner together.
Tracy, could you get the new sauce from the cabinet below? Tracy, could you get the new sauce?
Sure.
I search for the sauce but can't find it. Annoyed, Miley's voice pierces the air.
Tracy, what's taking so long?
Just a minute.
Losing her patience, Miley raises her voice.
Ah, you're so slow. Hurry up.
Suddenly, something scalding hits my face. I crumple to the ground, unable to scream.
It hurts, it hurts. It hurts. It's hot. What happened?
When I finally opened my eyes, there was Miley standing over me, ladle in hand. That's right, Miley had scalded me with boiling water.
You're blocking the way, sitting there like that. So annoying like that. So annoying.
Miley kicked me in the stomach after saying that.
Ouch, Miley, stop it, please.
Shut up. This is all because you're lazing around.
Miley kept kicking me in the stomach, over and over. A few minutes later, Miley left the kitchen, seemingly satisfied. Holding back the pain in my face and stomach, I slowly got up.
My whole body hurts.
I wet a handkerchief with trembling hands and pressed it to my face to soothe the burn. Getting my composure back, I decided to go to the hospital.
The burns are extensive, especially on your cheeks. We recommend hospitalization. What would you like to do?
If I go back home, I'll just be put to work.
That's what I thought, so I decided to stay at the hospital. I contacted Ewart to bring me some clothes, but he kept insisting he was too busy. Ewart didn't come that day, and I spent a lonely night. At one point, I snuck out of my hospital bed to the restroom. Seeing my reflection, my cheeks and neck were horribly swollen and red.
How am I gonna live like this?
Thinking about my bleak future, I broke down and cried. A few days later, Ewart finally brought me some clothes 2 days after my hospitalization.
Thanks for bringing the clothes.
When Ewart entered the room, he looked at me disdainfully.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Mom told me about your burn. You got it because you were careless, didn't you?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
No, Miley did this.
Mom would never do that. She's a good person. You must be mistaken.
Ewart dismissed my explanation and quickly left. After that, he stopped visiting me. And Miley, the one responsible for the burn, never showed up during my hospital stay. I was heartbroken by their treatment for many days, but each day I came to think of this more and more.
Why did I even try so hard?
Just when I started contemplating divorce after this ordeal, unexpected news arrived. Miley had taken a fall and was hospitalized. According to Ewart, she had hurt her leg while shopping and was having trouble walking. Although she was temporarily hospitalized, she would be living at home and receiving care. The news shocked me, but Ewart's next words shocked me even more.
Once you're discharged, you're taking care of Mom.
I couldn't believe my ears.
Ewart, you won't take care of her?
I'm busy with work. It has to be you, Tracy.
Ewart says so calmly.
Thinking that I could easily take care of Miley after she burned my face, that's just not possible.
Realizing talking to Ewart now would be pointless, I quickly ended the call. Revenge started boiling inside me, and an idea for payback came to mind. I decided to call a particular place to set my plan in motion. The day of my discharge, I finished up with the paperwork at the hospital and took care of some errands before heading back to my in-laws' home. The surroundings were already shrouded in darkness, with just a single light on in the living room.
Ewart must be home by now.
As I unlocked the door and stepped into the living room, there he was, just as I thought. Ewart.
Ah, took you long enough. Finally home, huh?
Ewart was sipping his coffee, reading the newspaper, completely ignoring my presence.
I'm back. Where's Miley?
She's sleeping in her room. Listen, I had to take care of her while you were in the hospital. Be grateful.
Ewart spoke with evident annoyance.
You've made me lose out on work, too. So starting tomorrow, you're on Miley duty.
Ewart put his hand on my shoulder and turned to leave. I couldn't hold back.
Hold on. Are you joking? I'm not doing it.
Ewart looked shocked, as if he hadn't expected me to object.
Silence fell between us.
What got into you all of a sudden?
I continued talking to Ewart, who was confused.
I've woken up. I don't need to care for a Miley who would burn me like this. And I'm disappointed in you. You always blamed me for your terrible relationship with Miley, remember? Well, these burns should make it clear.
But Miley said it was an accident, that she didn't mean for it to happen.
Still making excuses, I was losing my patience.
I'm not doing it. End of story.
Just then a sharp pain and a dry sound reverberated across my cheek. Stunned, I looked at Ewart. Struck dumb by the slap, I couldn't muster a reply as Ewart left for his room. And I laughed at Ewart.
What will he do if I'm not here tomorrow?
The next morning,
I'm off to work. Take care of Miley.
Sure, have a good day.
Ewart, perhaps thinking last night's slap made me submissive, asked me to care for Miley as usual, and left for work.
He doesn't even know I'm leaving. Serves him right.
I smirked at his naivety and proceeded to the next part of my plan. I arrived at Miley's room. Without any hesitation, I opened the door to find Miley bedridden.
Good morning, Miley.
Oh, Tracy, you're back?
Upon seeing my face, Miley's expression filled with disgust.
Ah, cover up those burn marks, will you? They're gross.
Even in a situation where she's supposed to be cared for by me, her attitude hasn't changed.
While feeling exasperated, I spoke to Miley.
Do you realize what you've done, Miley?
Are you blaming me? It's your fault for being clumsy. Please leave, I'll call you if I need you.
Miley spoke, adopting an imposing tone, urging me to leave quickly.
All right.
I exit the room just as Miley wanted. And after closing the door, I quietly chuckled. A few hours later,
Miley calls out from her room. Tracy, I need coffee. Tracy, I need coffee. Tracy.
Miley calls me from her room.
I respond, coming right up, and head to her room with the prepared coffee. Here you go.
You took so long. Hurry up next time.
Miley glares at me, griping, but her expression will soon turn into one of pain.
Ah, it's too hot. What's the matter with you?
Miley screams as she grabs the cup I handed her.
Well, Miley, you poured hot water of the same temperature on me, remember?
That's so unfair. Doing that to someone who's bedridden.
I continued.
All I wanted was for you to feel the heat you made me feel. In fact, you need my help to even make coffee right now. I could pour an even hotter cup of coffee on your face next time.
Miley's expression changed dramatically. Tracy, I'm so sorry. I apologize for everything. I won't annoy you anymore. Please forgive me.
I looked at Miley with cold eyes.
What are you talking about? There's no way I'm forgiving you. Reflect on your actions until Ewart comes back. I said grab Miley's phone and left.
I heard Miley say something, but I closed the door without paying any attention. Having said what I needed to Miley, I started preparing to leave my in-laws' house. Fortunately, most of my belongings were at my parents' house, so packing didn't take long. After making all the preparations, I rode the bullet train for 2.5 hours. I arrived at my parents' house. When my mother opened the front door, she was shocked to see the burn marks on my face.
Your face, what happened? Come in, we shouldn't talk here.
Overwhelmed by my mother's kindness, my eyes watered up. Can't blame them. It's only natural for my parents to be shocked when I come home looking like this.
You look troubled. What on earth happened? But let's not talk in the doorway, come on in.
My eyes well up at the tenderness in my mom's voice as she invites me inside. When I enter the living room, Dad's sipping his coffee and looks just as startled to see me. And for good reason. My cheek, red and swollen from a burn, is a disturbing sight to anyone. Even more so when it's their own daughter.
Hey, Dad, I'm home.
Welcome back. Glad you made it.
Dad doesn't mention my burn, but warmly welcomes me back. Touched by their kindness, I finally opened up about what had happened to me at my in-laws.
At first they were shocked, but in the end they gently patted me on the back saying, "You've done well."
I'm so glad they're my parents. I realized this anew at that moment. Just as I was appreciating my parents' kindness, I noticed numerous missed calls from Ewart, my husband.
Hey, what's going on?
When I call him back, his voice erupts in anger.
Would you keep your voice down?
How can I? Where did you go? Do you know how upset my mom is?
Is Miley okay?
When I ask, Ewart's voice becomes even more enraged.
Yes, she's fine, but she's really scared. What did you do to my mom? Get back here now?
Ewart lashes out at me with insults. According to Ewart, Miley had been trembling in her room, calling out my name until he returned home.
I won't go back to your house, ever.
You better know what you're doing if you're not coming back.
Just as I was about to retort, my phone is snatched away.
Hello, is this Ewart?
I turn around and there's my dad. My phone had been taken by him. Ewart's voice, coming from the phone, has noticeably softened. Dad retires to his room and starts talking with Ewart.
What are they talking about?
I strain to hear but can't make out the words. Minutes later, Dad returns and hands my phone back to me.
What did you talk about with Ewart?
Don't worry about it.
He says vaguely and returns to the living room. Days later, life has settled down at my parents' house and tranquility is returning. Then an unexpected visitor bursts in.
Hey, what's the meaning of this?
Ignoring my mom's pleas to stop, Ewart barges into the living room.
What's the meaning of this?
He slams down the divorce settlement I had sent him.
What I mean is straightforward. You're going to pay that sum.
Come on, there's no way we can pay all that at once.
What Miley has done to me, your verbal abuse and physical violence, not to mention the cost of treating my burns. It's only fair I get that much.
Even so, this amount is absurd. I could get a lawyer too, you know?
The argument between Ewart and me continues to escalate.
Look, my lawyer and I decided on this amount. You're paying it, end of story.
You're unbelievable.
Just as Ewart tries to raise his hand to me, my dad rushes into the living room.
What's going on here?
Father-in-law.
Ewart freezes at the sight of my dad.
So what were you about to do to my daughter?
Well, this is...
My dad's anger is justified. After all, he arrived to find his own daughter about to be struck by her husband.
Put your hand down and sit in that chair.
Understood?
Ewart sits in the chair, just as my dad told him.
Ewart, what brings you here today to see my daughter?
Well, the alimony she's demanding is ridiculously high, so...
I side-eye Ewart as he stumbles through his words with my dad.
Just a while ago, he was so aggressive towards me.
I know about your harassment of my daughter, your verbal abuse, and how you even slapped her burned cheek. Consider this sum a kind of apology. If it were up to me, I'd demand even more. Be grateful. This is the amount we settled on. Didn't you promise over the phone that you'd pay, no matter the amount?
But this amount, so suddenly...
I shoot Ewart a cold look as he struggles.
I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Sell your company or whatever and pay up.
Ewart looks desperate after hearing my words. Later, he agrees to pay the alimony in full and leaves with a defeated look on his face. After Ewart leaves, I rush to my dad to thank him.
Dad, thank you so much.
It's just that I couldn't overlook his immoral actions. I'm just glad you're safe.
I thanked my dad over and over, grateful for his support, knowing I couldn't have kicked Ewart out without him. In the end, even selling his company couldn't cover the alimony, leaving Ewart in a huge debt. He's apparently now working hard on a construction site during night shifts. As for Miley, she's bedridden and getting weaker by the day. I feel their pain is well-deserved. Considering the harassment from Miley and the abuse from Ewart, the last time I saw Ewart, he still had lingering feelings and begged me to come back.
Please, can't you come back? My mom is regretting what she's done too.
Ewart looks worn out, nothing like the man he used to be. He's probably swamped with taking care of Miley during the day and working night shifts. Meanwhile, I'm living my life freely, having cut ties with my in-laws.
You really are better off, Tracy. Your burn scars are fading.
On the way home from a checkup for my burn scars, my mom muttered, "Thank you, Tracy."
Thanks to you, Mom, for finding me a good plastic surgeon.
Since then, I've had a skin graft on my cheek and managed to lighten the burn marks. Luckily, with some makeup, I can look just like I did before the burn.
Once things settle down, it'd be nice for the three of us to go on a trip.
That sounds wonderful. Your dad would be thrilled.
Right now, I can't even think about remarrying or anything like that. For the time being, I plan to cherish my parents while thinking about my own future.